I don't ask landlords permission to Airbnb. What are you, nuts? You will never get an Airbnb property asking a landlord to tell you yes. Do this instead. Hey guys, I'm Sean, and my students have signed over 5,000 leases to do Airbnb. They've got over $10 million of rent for free on the front end of those leases, and most importantly, they aren't getting sued and they're not in jail. What I teach, yes, God, it's controversial, but it works. And most importantly, it's legal. As if you and I needed to give a landlord another reason to be mad at this video, I only started Airbnb because I got evicted and I needed to find a way to hide my eviction record so I could have a place to live. Back in 2009, I moved from Wisconsin to Houston to take a job promotion to become a sales manager, which I sucked at, by the way. That promotion caused me to lose a lot of money, but not before I increased my living expenses out of sheer optimism that I would succeed. My car got repossessed because I could not make the payments. Luckily, a neighbor sold me a hoopty MPV Mazda van on payments again, with no contract. And then though, I was evicted and I had to start living out of that van for like 5 months. Not cool. But about 6 months later, after going homeless, in the pit of desperation that I lived in, I decided to start a business selling newspaper subscriptions like the company I was working for when I failed. And that worked out. I started to make money. Way cool. I had to put a title loan on that van to get $2,000 extra cash because my sales guys did so good when they were new that I didn't have enough cash to pay their commissions. That's how good it was. But as I expanded the business to California from Texas, I needed a place for people to stay. And I tried to apply to an apartment complex, but they denied me because of that eviction. But then they said this, Sean, you could get approved. You're a company, you've got good cash. Why don't you form an LLC, apply as the LLC, and we'll approve that instead. This was the first time I ever heard of this loophole. Ever since then, 2011, I have been leasing apartments through LLCs instead of my name because that eviction stayed for 5 years, all the way through to 2014, which is when I started my Airbnb business. I was still renting apartments for people to live in. This time, the company was so big, I'm recruiting sales guys from California, from Michigan, from Wisconsin, from Florida, all to Houston. And I was giving them a place to stay for free for 2 months, furnished, just so they could settle in and make big commissions. But I signed year-long leases, furnished them, and only had a plan for 2 months. So naturally, I ended up with 3 empty apartments that I had to pay rent on. I ate that loss for 3 months, $6,000 a month in rent that I had to pay out, back at the end of 2014. And then one night I was out with my friends drinking in Midtown. Yes, I was 25, young, drinking, being stupid. One of my friends said they stayed at an Airbnb house when they were in Austin for Memorial Day weekend or something like that. And that was the first time I heard the word Airbnb. And then they were like, well, somebody puts their house on a website and you can book their house, kind of like a hotel. And it hit me, I'm like, I could do this. I've got 3 empty apartments I could list online. So I started looking on Airbnb, and yes, there were apartments in downtown Houston. There was a woman across the street from me who already had 9 properties. So even in 2014, I was far from the newest person to do Airbnb out of apartments. But maybe what was unique about me is my leases were through an LLC. My leases also didn't have any language saying that you could not do Airbnb because it was so young. So I just started doing it. The leasing office was confused. Within 6 months, they had the stance that they were sure that this could not be allowed. There's no way. They tried to tell me that subletting is not allowed. And then I told them with all of my slickness, I said to them, well, it's not subletting because the LLC has the lease and there's no occupant on the lease. It's a company. So the person staying is our declared occupant. It's not a sublet because it's all under the same lease. I was able to use this for 5 years, straight and easy, no problems. I would just rent apartments, tell buildings I was a company, and sort it out later. That hit the fan eventually. They started changing lease language saying that you cannot do Airbnb, not only just subletting, you cannot list on lodging websites, you cannot collect money for the use of your space. They updated these leases big time. But there's still a way that I've been able to do Airbnb without asking permission. If you go back to the beginning of this story, 2008, 2009, I took a promotion to become a sales manager. The one thing that I was very good at, and I'm still very good at, is sales. Persuasion is my game. And persuasion and sales is exactly how my students have picked up thousands and thousands of doors. There is one thing that every sales organization teaches a new sales guy: the art of assumption. They teach you that no's will come. Of course, no's are an important part to get to yeses, but they also teach you you can't get the yeses unless you believe that the yeses are there. So then you start to develop your conversation as if you are expecting a yes. You start treating customers like they're going to buy. And when you treat someone like they are going to do what you want them to do, sales become more easy. So how can we use this for Airbnb? When you go to a landlord and start to talk to them about their business, you need to first learn enough about sales to build what's called rapport. You need them to like you and trust you. You need to have a real conversation. You will have a presentation. You don't have to use mine. My presentation is nuts good, but you can make up your own. And at the end of that presentation, instead of asking if that sounds good for them or if they are interested, simply use a different question. But the type of question we're going to use is one that could not exist unless they would say yes to our offer. One of my favorite ones for a single family homeowner, for example, is, so what's the next step? I assume it's a lease application. Do you have it on you or is it electronic? That question, do you have it on you or is it electronic, is a choice clause. It's a choice of an answer. It doesn't seem like a close for those of you that know sales. I didn't ask him to buy anything. I didn't ask him to say yes. But if his response is, yes, let me give you this document, or here, let me email you this document, that is a silent admission that everything that I told him in my presentation, he agrees with. So when you go into a sale, get to know your customer, find out what matters to them. Make your presentation, but point to the benefits that benefit that one customer and believe that that presentation worked. If you talk to someone like an individual pointing to their needs, and then you believe that your presentation is going to work, 60% of the time, it works every time. And of course, it's not just so simple that you stand in front of a landlord and say some confident stuff. You need to learn a little bit about this industry. They'll have questions. You have to be able to answer that stuff. That is called product knowledge. They will have objections. They'll have negative assumptions, and you're going to have to break those. That is an objection cycle, rebuttals cycle thing. If you don't know sales, I will teach you sales. You can start with this free playlist on this YouTube channel. It's got a ton. And then if you want my help live, in person, via Zoom, I have a mentorship on sales. Everything that you could ever want to know about the art of persuasion. It can help you with Airbnb or copywriting or dating or a career in sales. Whatever you want to use persuasion for, just promise me that you're going to use it for good and not evil. Again, my friends, watch this playlist on how to pitch landlords Airbnb. If you're serious about getting into this industry, you can even learn how to get free rent out of them. That's the key to selling. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through to the end. It was my honor and pleasure to give it to you. As always, my friends, I will see you on the other side.